Just take a time just for a brief moment and talk about the word anxiety and anxiousness. I think we live in a world today where there's so much going on, so many things happening. Many of us are still trying to reach our dreams, still trying to get those things that we want in life. And sometimes it can produce a state of anxiety. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today, anxiety. If there's someone that's listening to me right now, this will be a good time for you to kind of put everything down and just listen to what I have to say today. Because I believe it's God's will for us to live in a place of peace, to live in a place where we can, in spite of the troubles, circumstances that are going on around us, we can be at peace. And I believe that is God's will for our life. So anxiety, as we know, that it's, just being in a state of fear, state of nervousness, or just a place of just doubt, just not knowing if things are going to work out the way that you want them. And sometimes they can put you in a place where you're just feeling uncertain about life. And some of those things are normal. So don't beat yourself up all the time, because at some point all of us will experience those things. That's why the Bible tells us a lot not to worry. Don't worry about what you're going to put on, what you're going to eat, because God supplies all those things. But if you're like me, sometimes you're human. And we tend to worry when we shouldn't be worrying, when we should put it in God's hands. We find ourselves taking situations upon ourselves, and it causes just frustration and us just fearful about life. But, anxiety is normal, something that we deal with, and the Bible speaks about it a lot. I'm thinking of a scripture in Philippians 4:7-6, where it really gives us the formula. Apostle Paul talks about being anxious for nothing. I believe it's Philippians 4:6-7. He talks about just being anxious for nothing, that we have to come to a place where we understand it is not God's will for us to sit around, be stressed out, to be worried about things that are out of our control, which, it produces stress. And you know what stress is? Stress is just having a feeling of wanting to be in control when you can't be in control. And some of the things that we're stressed out about, we don't even have control over them. So we have to be able to put those in God's hands. But in Philippians, Paul gives us a solution. And he says for us, don't be anxious for nothing. But he said in all things, the first thing he tells us to do is to pray. My grandmother and grandfather had told me that all the time, that if you can't do anything else, you can go on your knees and you can pray. And prayer may not always change your circumstance instantly, but I do believe it'll change your insides instantly if you're sincere about talking to God. And that's all prayer is. It's just communicating with God, telling him what's going on with you. And listen, God is divine. I do know he's divine, but he's also a God that can be touched with our infirmities. That if you'll be honest with God and just tell God, hey God, I'm feeling nervous. God, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety because I'm getting ready to start a new job, or somebody came into your life, somebody walked out of your life. God knows those things before you even ask. So he tells us to pray. Number one is to talk to him. That's all it is. That's all prayer is. It's communicating with God and telling God what's going on. So listen, don't act as though God don't know what you're dealing with, because he knows. And all we have to do is be honest with him in our prayer life. And then the second thing Paul says, that is to come with him with supplication, meaning that whatever it is that you need to ask God, talk to God about it. Supplication, giving it to God, allowing God to talk to your heart and talk to you about whatever's going on. So don't be afraid to ask God for what you need. And then the third one he says in that text, he says to give thanks. That even in the midst of your stress, in the midst of what you're dealing with, he says to be thankful. So even wherever you are, you can think of something to be thankful about. That, hey, you may be suffering with some anxiety now because you have a bill that's due. I don't know, you may have a family member that you're looking for, but find something to be thankful for. That you're in a house, or that your children that are with you are doing fine. As you're praying about another child, thank God for life. Getting up every morning is something that you can thank God for. Just having breath in your body is something that we can be thankful for. Here is the promise that he gives us in that scripture. This is powerful, you guys. And he says that then shall the peace of God, then he shall give you peace that surpasses all understanding. That when you pray, when you give it to God and you talk to God about what you need and you be thankful, he says, now you will experience a peace that surpasses all understanding. There's a peace that you can't even understand. There's a peace that God gives you. It doesn't mean that there's an absence of things going on around you. It don't always mean that you're going to be absent of a storm in life, but God will give you peace. That's undisturbed peace in the midst of whatever you're going through. Man, that's amazing that, listen, stuff can be breaking out around you, but yet God has promised to keep your mind, to keep your thoughts at peace when we make a choice not to be anxious or to suffer with anxiety. So I encourage you today, listen, take those things and just begin to talk to God, and let this be a new turn for you, that you tell yourself, in the first part of that scripture, he says, do not be anxious for anything. And from this day forward, you tell yourself, anxiety, I have the victory because of what Jesus did for me over 2,000 years ago. You be at peace, and may God be with you.